The place is Australia, but this is another time, the Aborigines' dream time, the time before time. And then one day, out of the sunrise ocean, a sail. A ship in search of the great South Land, His Majesty's bark Endeavour, 20 months out of Plymouth. A crew, 90 good men. Her captain,
James Cook, navigator. The country itself, so far as we know, does not produce anything to invite Europeans to fix a settlement upon it. But it can never be doubted that most sorts of grain and fruits of every kind would flourish were they once brought here and cultivated.
That was 1770, but years passed and Cook's New South Wales report was ignored in London.
Order! Order!
Politicians had much bigger things to worry about. The war in Europe, the loss of the American colonies.
Gentlemen! Gentlemen! Please silence for Sir Joseph Banks!
What do we do with New South Wales?
What do we do with New South Wales?
Cook discovered it. I can't think where. We're not really sure if it's even there.
Well, what do we do with it?
Oh, I don't care.
What do we do with New South Wales?
Give it to the American loyalists.
What?
Make it a naval base.
Certainly not. Do some trade with China there.
Don't talk rot.
Oh, what do we do with New South Wales?
It's a puzzle. It's a muddle. It's a riddle.
It's a joke.
It's a wonder.
It's a plunder.
It's a pig in a poke.
All of us are biting our nails, wondering what can we do with New South Wales. What a petty problem, please stop making a fuss. We've got something more important to discuss.
What do we do with the convicts, eh?
What do we do with the convicts, pray?
Our jails are flowing over! Goodness gracious! Oh dear! Those prison hulks in the Thames, sir! Disease may appear!
It costs so much to keep them, each one £20 a year. What do we do with the convicts now?
Build new penitentiaries!
And make us all poor?
Send them off to Africa!
We can't anymore.
Dump them in America?
And start another war!
Oh, what do we do with the convicts now?
It's a puzzle! It's a muddle! It's a riddle!
It's a joke.
It's a wonder!
It's a plunder!
It's a pig in a poke.
Here we sit with sweat on our brow, wondering what do we do, wondering what do we do, wondering what do we do with the convicts. Oh, send them to New South Wales.
So, it was to be a colony for convicts.
Here we go then. The First Fleet. All aboard the supply ship Sirius with store ships and 6 transports. And what a consignment, mate. 1 bull, 1 cow, 4 calves, 1 stallion and 3 mares, 3 colts, 44 sheep, 4 goats, 28 pigs, a few thousand turkeys, 759 convicts, and us, a battalion of the Plymouth Division of the Royal Marines. Oh, cool.
And, of course, a complement of officers, surgeons, a clergyman, and the captain.
Captain Arthur Phillip and his 1,030 Marines, sailors and convicts. landed at Sydney Cove. It was Saturday, January the 26th, 1788.
Company, attention, hot!
George III, to our trusty and well-beloved Captain Arthur Phillip, greeting.
Well, listeners, it's a hot, sticky day for the proclamation ceremony, as Captain Phillip receives his commission.
Do by these presents constitute and appoint you to be governor of our territory, called New South Wales.
We'll try to get a statement from the governor himself. Your Excellency.
Well, here we have the finest harbour in the world, in which 1,000 sail of the line may ride in the most perfect security.
Oh, and here's an officer. Excuse me, sir. Would you care to...
This is a country and a place so forbidding and hateful as only to merit execration and curses.
Thank you. Oh, and a soldier.
Who, me? Oh, God, lummy gov, it's bleeding hell, ain't it? I mean, God, help us, look at it! Look at it, God blimey, it's no place for this here limey. Someone boo-booed back in England with the facts. Who said it's like a dream? Like a dream that makes you scream. Take a look at it and leave it to the blacks. Look at it topsy-turvy, there's mosquitoes, flies and scurvy, lots of lovely sand and most unfriendly snakes. Instead of snow in February, we get boiling heat that's very aggravating to a bloke what gets the shakes. Weep your heart out, don't even start out. If a convict had a choice, he'd take the rope. England's wetter, but England's better. When you land in Botany Bay, abandon hope. If you ask me, Captain Cook should have took a second look, instead of saying, what a lovely place to find. Wrote about a paradise, land of honey, milk and spice. If you ask me, Captain Cook was off his mind.
Then came the Second Fleet, and the Third. Instead of desperately needed food and supplies, London sent the very dregs of Britain's jails. Down to hard rations, the governors governed, the convicts worked out their sentences, and the soldiers worked.
Making money, mate. Working a few little dodges, you know. A little trading in rum. Oh, nothing fancy. I mean, we leaves that to the officers and the gentlemen. Here, do you know they corners nearly every cargo what comes into Sydney town? Well, if it's all right for them, it's all right for us. Ain't it? Come to Sydney Cove, to the government store, see the treasure trove of the New South Wales Corps, the New South Wales Corps lummy, where the currency is definitely rummy. Want to buy a sheep, boy, want to trade your goat, flog your flour cheap, boy, I'll sell your overcoat. We won't pay you in cash, don't be funny, you get rum, dum-dum, rum, dum-dum, rum, for your money. Keep your promissory note and your IOU. Keep your silly Spanish dollar, ducats aren't worth a sou. Pray forgive us for seeming aloof. But we want currency that's overproof. Here we are, a convict, just a wee bit bruised. Do you want to hire a milkmaid who's hardly hardly been used. Want to barter or garter my honey?
You get rum, dilly-um-tum, rum, dilly-um-tum, rum, for your money.
That's enough! Gentlemen, this is absolute chaos.
Lachlan Macquarie, one of the greatest of the early governors. Under his firm hand, a place for convicts became a place for honest men.
I intend to achieve stability in this colony. We shall begin by cleansing the currency. Would you please take whatever steps are necessary for the setting up of a bank?
The Bank of New South Wales, first bank in Australia, first public company, opened its doors April 8th, 1817. While some men grappled with the economic problems of Sydney town, other men gazed far beyond, westward to the Blue Mountains, to the unknown interior. The age of the explorers had begun. 1813, Blaxland, Lawson and Wentworth.
We stood at last on the crest of the range and saw a vast fertile plain stretching unbroken to the western horizon.
Hume and Hovell headed south, crossed the Murray River, reached Port Phillip. Surveyor George Evans pushed inland.
I found rivers flowing westward. Westward? Where?
John Oxley.
The interior of this vast country is an uninhabitable swamp. Perhaps an inland sea.
So men searched for the inland sea. Charles Sturt.
This desert is one of the gloomiest regions man ever crossed. The stillness of death reigns round us.
Ludwig Leichhardt.
I will find Walter. I must go onward.
Burke and Wills.
We crossed the continent from Melbourne to the north, but on the way back, everything went wrong. We were so close to help, but without water. Water.
There was no inland sea. But in the southwest, Major Mitchell had found rich green country, called it Australia Felix. Happy Australia. And so they came. Westward, southward they came, moving across the face of the land like a wave across the sea. Their property rights? Possession. No title, no license. They drove their sheep and cattle onto the land, built their huts, and defied authority and the law. The squatters.
I can feel my land blowing on the west wind. I can feel my land blowing on the west wind, blowing on the wind to meet me. My sheep can smell my grass, smell it on the west wind. I can smell my trees, smell them on the west wind, leading in the wind to greet me. I can almost feel my soil underneath my feet, running through my outstretched hand. I can see my land out there past the west wind, out there past the wind, my land. Pull you bullocks through dust and mud, pull you bullocks through drought and flood. Crack those stock whips, I can feel it getting closer. And when I've got there, I'll squat there to stay. And no one's gonna drive me away. I can feel my land blowing I can feel my land blowing on the west wind, blowing on the wind to greet me. I can almost feel my soil underneath my feet, running through my outstretched hand. I can see my land out there past the west wind, out there past the wind.
Somewhere a woman forgets the smoothness of linen, perfume of roses. Out back is somewhere a woman belongs, with a man who's wed to the land, his land. Made of water and clay, hard-beaten earth makes a floor and a carpet. Woman forgets about spinets and dancing, for now she belongs to the land, his land. Don't weep for lost things, for youth and its pleasure. Where is the bloom now? The red sun destroyed it. Suffer in silence and learn to be lonely. Live with your man and the land, his land. Out back is somewhere a woman creates a world of her own round a man and his dream. All that she has is her man and her children. Deep in her heart is a love for the land. His land.
And wherever the squatters went, commerce followed. Into the new territories came the traders. Banks opened branches, brought money to aid the new settlers.
Now there was a new feeling, a growing feeling. Confidence.
Independence. Colonists far distant from Sydney wanted local rule, and got it. The vast mother colony of New South Wales began to shrink as new colonies broke away.
Tasmania.
Victoria.
Queensland.
And the British government created 2 more colonies.
Western Australia.
South Australia. No convicts. So refreshing.
And just when everything was going nicely, thank you, along came 1851.
It's gold! Gold!
What's he say?
It's gold! Gold!
Gold! Gold! Drop your hammer, grab a pick, leave your grandma double quick. Get a wagon, get a horse, pack a bag and set a course for gold, 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 for gold, 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 gold.
Ballarat or Bendigo, it doesn't matter where you go.
People say the hill and nugget bust the backs of the man who dug it. Gold, 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 gold. Gold is lying all around. Pick it up right off the ground. Kick it with your miner's boot. Brush the gold dust off your suit. Butcher, baker, candle maker, clergyman and undertaker.
Quit the city, leave the town. Sitting pretty when you're found. Gold, 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 gold. Come from England, come from France. San Franciscans take a chance.
Ireland, China, Old Berlin, come and find a million in gold, 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 in gold, 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 gold. Gold is lying all around. Pick it up right off the ground. Kick it with your miner's boot. Brush the gold dust off your suit. So drop your hammer, grab a pick, leave your grandma double quick. Get a wagon, get a horse, pack a bag, and set a course for gold, 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 for gold, 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 gold.
Some found nothing. Some found a fortune. Gold turned the country upside down. In 10 years, the population trebled. Swarming goldfields spawned lusty boom towns. That was just the start of it. Then the new rich built magnificent mansions. The devout built stately churches. The workers built trade unions. There was a new force in the land, mateship.
And something bigger, responsible government. In 1856, good Queen Victoria gave us our first elected assembly under Governor Denison.
Gold in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, Western Australia. Everything was on the up and up.
Now we can send a cable all the way to London.
Sail right through the new Suez Canal.
Send our meat and fruit right across the world in refrigerated ships.
Quick, get sheep, cattle, land.
Land? But where?
Where? Anywhere. Just get it. Invest, expend, expand.
Invest.
Well, that's one way to learn the economic facts of life.
Huge fortunes were wiped out. Millionaires became paupers.
Everyone suffered. People lost their life savings.
Of all the banks in Australia, only 9 survived, including the first bank, the Bank of New South Wales.
Trade unions struggled for better conditions, but the Depression got worse.
The big crash of 1893, a great disaster for all Australians.
For all what?
Australians.
Australians are Aborigines, old boy.
But aren't you Australians?
We are New South Wales,
Victoria,
South
and West Australia,
Queensland,
and Tasmania.
but somehow it's a failure. On railway gauges, postage stamps, and customs duties we go.
Our separate ways is chaos, but it's lovely for our ego.
It's lovely for our ego.
Oh, what ungrateful creatures now, they've left their loving mother. The silly little things just can't agree with one another.
Agree with one another.
Let's have a referendum. Will a federation go, sir?
We'll ask the people what they think. One answer, yes or no, sir. One answer, yes or no, sir.
Yes!
No! Yes! No! Yes! No! Yes! Each colony became a state and joined the federation.
And so was born in 1901 a bouncing baby nation.
Australia, Australia, a bouncing baby nation.
January 1st, 1901.
We do hereby declare that the people shall be united in a federated commonwealth under the name of the Commonwealth of Australia. God save the Queen.
Ah, yes, 1901. A bright new century, a bright new nation, with high hopes, high ideals, where the average man would get a fair deal.
Closer land settlement, tariff barriers, pensions, maternity allowances.
What about the workers?
Workers' compensation, immigration restriction, protection, fair and reasonable pay and conditions, industrial peace through conciliation and arbitration.
Mr. William Morris Hughes.
We need a citizen army. It is the first duty of every man to defend his country, and the only way to do this is universal military service.
Lord Kitchener of Khartoum.
The present forces are inadequate to defend Australia from the dangers of its isolated position.
Agreed. Compulsory military training.
We also need a navy.
A navy, Mr. Deacon? But there's always the Royal Navy.
Is there?
Yes, Navy. The Royal Australian Navy. Splendid. Now, what's next on the agenda?
Gee, what happened? Some crank shot the Archduke Ferdinand. A place called Sarajevo. Never heard of it. You will.
It's 1914. Andrew Fisher, soon to be Australia's Prime Minister.
Australia will stand behind the mother country to help and defend her, to our last man and our last shilling.
World War I.
See the world. We're off to see the world. Got a chance to see Egypt and Palestine. Got a chance to see France and the Hindenburg Line. We're off to see the fun and put the Hun on the run. Take a cruise on the Mediterranean Sea. Then we'll send you a postcard from Gallipoli. We're gonna shovel our worries in our old kit bags and give the Kaiser what for. We're off to see the world. We're off to free the world. Oh yes, it's gonna be a wonderful war.
Egypt, Gallipoli, Palestine, France. 4 years of that, and you were ready to head for home. Oh well, at least we helped put the world right. So, forget it!
Welcome to the 1920s. Run up the Charleston flag. Dry your eyes on your handkerchief hem and blow that bugle bead rag. Don't talk to us about the war. Forget it, forget it. Ain't gonna be no war no more. Forget it, forget it. Jonas may sob and sorrow. Don't hand us all that jazz. Spend and pay back tomorrow. Today, let the rest of it taz. Kick your old chin up off the floor. You said it, you said it. Go to the bank and overdraw. Don't tell me that's a crime. What if we're broke? Forget it, and let's have a hell of a time. Kiss goodbye to discretion. Buy me a new close hat. Got no time for depression. Depression? Baby, what's that? Tell me I look like Clairvaux. Forget it, forget it. We haven't got a dime. It's all a joke, forget it. And let's have a hell of a, let's have a hell of a, let's have a hell of a time. Hell of a time.
Yes, they're doing the best for the diggers. Government's bought me a little property out west, stocked it with cattle and sheep, 'cause Water's a bit light on, but she'll be right. Pay him back on the Never Never.
That's great. But where's the government getting all the money from?
Oh, you men. Come away from the bar and enjoy yourselves. Life's for living.
The Roaring Twenties. Borrow millions, spend millions, bring in the migrants, build roads, railways, open up the outback, bring architect Walter Burley Griffin from Chicago, and build us a new national capital. Canberra, 1927. His Royal Highness the Duke of York.
Listen to the voices of the noble army of the dead, and march in step with them towards a glorious destiny.
(1929), and a cold wind blew from abroad, a freezing wind. Suddenly the world went broke.
Strike me. Years and years of drought, and then just when the rain comes, a depression.
Wool prices, wheat prices, investment from overseas, all fell.
What about the workers?
One breadwinner in 3 out of work.
Stand in line once a week, and a man gets the dole. Thanks. For nothing.
But Australians found things to take their minds off the dole. They opened the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
World's greatest bridge.
Young Don Bradman scored another century.
World's greatest cricketer.
Peter Dawson sang manly songs.
World's greatest singer.
Farlap won the Melbourne Cup.
World's greatest racehorse.
And when Farlap died, they installed his body in Melbourne Museum, his skeleton in New Zealand, and his heart in Canberra.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Sir Charles Kingsford Smith pioneered airways across the world.
My pals stuck to me as they've always stuck, and they did their job. The Southern Cross proved herself to be the thoroughbred that she is, and we got through. I'm mighty pleased that, in all sincerity, I tell you, that my greatest joy lies in the fact, in doing my job, I did something worthwhile for Australia. And I hope to do further for this, my country.
Ah, this country's got everything. Except money.
Yes, but we got the talkies, love, and the gramophone, and the wireless.
Einige wenige, dieses große volksdeutsche Reich zu begründen.
There he goes again.
That's right, soldier. Adolf Hitler.
Hitler. If you ask me, mate, he's crazy.
Germany invades Poland, September 1st, 1939. 2 days later, in Canberra, Prime Minister Menzies.
Fellow Australians, it is my melancholy duty to inform you officially that in consequence of a persistence by Germany in her invasion of Poland, Great Britain has declared war upon her, and that as a result, Australia is also at war.
Yeah. Well, it's on again.
Just look at me, a shipping clerk, aged 22. Not the kind of bloke you'd say could win a war. But that ain't gonna stop me, and it won't stop you. So put your hat on, mate, and let's get out the door. I wouldn't be a well-read bloke, I read the news. Far as I'm concerned, the news is getting bad. And if this rotten war comes our way, what we lose is everything we've built up, all we ever had. So cheer, people, cheer, we're on our way. We're going over there to fight for you. Don't ever fear, we'll be back someday. So don't say goodbye, just believe it's true. Well, here it is, it's time to go, the time goes fast. Come on, Mum, no tears, you know you promised me. Keep your chin up, folks, they say. The war won't last and I'll be back before you know it. Wait and see. So cheer, people, cheer, we're on our way. We're going over there to fight for you. Don't ever fear, we'll be back someday. So don't say goodbye, just believe it's true. Believe it's true.
December 7th, 1941, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. February 15th, 1942, Singapore falls. Australia's Prime Minister John Curtin speaks to America.
It is said that the Japanese will bypass Australia and that they can be met and routed in India. I say to you that the saving of Australia is the saving of America's west coast. If you believe anything to the contrary, then you delude yourselves. You, as I have said, must be our leader. We will pull knee to knee with you for every ounce of our weight. We look to America, among other things, for counsel and advice.
Here we are fighting all over the Middle East and they're dropping bombs on Darwin.
We ought to get back there before it's too late.
Churchill.
We could not contemplate that you would refuse our request for the diversion of the leading Australian division to save the situation in Burma.
Curtin did refuse. He said, "We need the 7th Division here. Australia's outer defenses are vanishing. Our vulnerability is completely exposed." March 1942. The Japanese army lands in New Guinea, drives over the ranges towards Port Moresby, last stepping stone to Australia.
Drag a heavy cannon through the mud. Haul it up a mountain wet with blood. Here's a battle no one planned. What a place to make a stand. Kokoda. Hack the jungle wall and make a way. Dig yourself a hole. We're here to stay. Draw a line all nice and neat. This is where there's no retreat. Kokoda. Mates are there. Say a prayer. Think of her. Never stir. Watch. And wait. Concentrate. Peel your eyes. Realize what's in store. Nevermore. Here they come. Unbeaten samurai. Here they come to kill us or to die. Hand to hand along the track. Kill or fall, but drive them back. Kokoda. They say the Yanks won the Coral Sea. They say the Yanks have won the Coral Sea. Now let's keep them on the run. We've got to get them on the run. Kokoda!
General MacArthur led American and Australian troops deep into enemy territory. Buna, Wau, Samoa, Lae, Rabaul, the Solomons, Morotai, Borneo.
This is London. Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Winston Churchill.
Yesterday morning, at 2:41 a.m., at General Eisenhower's headquarters, General Jodl signed the Act of Unconditional Surrender.
Well, that's the end of the war in Europe, mate. Well, what about...
What was that?
A bomb? Place called Hiroshima. Then Nagasaki. And then... World War II was all over. 1945. And when the cheering was all over, 8 million Australians took stock of themselves.
Who are we? What are we? Where are we going? Who cares? Drifting along in a kind of daydream, waiting to be taken by the hand. It's time to stop pretending, acting just like children. Face the facts and try to understand. Who are we? What are we? Where are we going? Who cares? Are we nothing? Little people, are we always taken unawares? Or are we something bigger, something stronger? Can we stand right up and say that we're going to be someone, really someone? And the day for being someone is
So we decided to be something bigger.
Really big. Like the Snowy Mountain scheme. Great future, this country. But it needs money, markets, men.
Migrants, millions of them. From Britain, from Europe, from other places around the world they came.
1949. A new federal government under Prime Minister Menzies.
We had a wool boom.
And a war in Korea.
Secondary industry boomed.
So did pay packets. People had money to spend.
And we spent it on homes, on our kids. We doubled the number of universities.
Everything was growing fast. Great Australian organisations like BHP, Qantas, Bank of New South Wales.
The cities grew, towns grew, and the suburbs just exploded.
The whole country exploded. The booming 60s. We found what was just underneath the wide brown land.
Way out west, with the sun beating down, big red mountains shimmering all around. People used to say there was nothing but sand, shimmering, glimmering, wide brown land.
And what did they find, huh?
Iron ore, manganese, nickel and lead, where they used to find gold nuggets big as your head. The big red mountains were shimmering for. The whole darn thing was solid iron ore. Hey, hey, give me some room. I'll ride a jackhammer to the mineral boom. Way up north, where the crocodiles are. You wouldn't go there, 'cause it's just too far. Red hot desert, tropical plain, baking in the heat or soaking in the rain.
And what did they find, huh?
Bauxite, uranium, lead and zinc, nickel and copper, and what do you think? Spot in, brother! You could strike oil! Millions of dollars under the soil! Hey, hey, give me some room. I'll ride a jackhammer to the mineral boom. Just off the coast, there's a fine fishing ground. Hey there, geologist, what have you found? Way down south in the Strait called Bass, they're bringing up oil and natural gas. Hey, hey, give me some room. I'll ride a jackhammer to the mineral boom. Mount Tom Price and Mary Kathleen. Gippsland Shelf where the water is green. Moomba, Isa, Weepa, Gold. The whole darn country is a big treasure trove. Hey, hey, give me some room. I'll ride a jackhammer, ride a jackhammer, ride a jackhammer to the mineral boom.
Untold millions worth of minerals. You name it, we've got it. And there's a world market for it, especially in Asia.
Asia? People say we're part of Asia. But are we? Really?
We're involved. Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia. Geographically, politically, we're involved.
But we're not Asians. Who call themselves Asians, anyway? The Chinese, Japanese, Indonesians, and we're Australians.
December 1972. After 23 years, a Labour government came to power in Canberra, under Prime Minister Whitlam. And late in 1975, the Liberal National Country Party coalition regained government, under Prime Minister Fraser.
So much is changing so fast.
Yeah, but we'll never change. We're Australians.
Australians. William John Farrer, Edgeworth David, Howard Florey, McFarlane Burnett, Henry Parkes, Edmund Barton, Alfred Deakin, John Monash, Isaac Isaacs, Melba, Sutherland, Flynn of the Inland, Hubert Murray, Henry Lawson, Patrick White, Nolan, Drysdale, Dobell.
And generations of young Australians we've never even heard of, yet.
It's a beautiful feeling to be alive and free. Freedom that was once a dream comes true for you and me. This is a lucky country for folks like you and me. We play it fair and work to share in our prosperity. Our way, it's gotta be our way.
Jeans and t-shirts,
Suntan swimsuit, that's the kind of gear I wanna wear. Eat less, keep fit,
watch my diet.
that's a hunger pain easy to bear. But don't underestimate our generation. We're good and ready for what's to be done. Asking the questions, getting the answers, telling the world about liberation.
Boy people,
Girl people,
and all the world people, take our hands now, we're on our way.
It's our world now. We're gonna learn how life is beautiful. It's a new day. Don't underestimate our generation. We're good and ready for what's to be done. Asking the questions, getting the answers, telling the world about liberation. It's a beautiful feeling to be alive and free. Freedom that was once a dream comes true for you and me. This is a lucky country for folks like you and me. We play it fair and work to share in our prosperity. Our way, it's gotta be our way. Our way, it's gotta be our way.
Anything's possible now. We've just begun. What about the future?
That's up to you.
Yes,